Are they pretty tight?
His brother lives in Bend,
Oh.
so we don't. I mean, we go there, we visit, but I don't think they're excited yet.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
That's
Heavy's like-
probably typical.
Would you like a glass of water?
No, I'm great. If I need it, I'll just grab a sip. Thank you.
You guys are all set. I
Okay,
closed
great.
down all of the things so you don't have to stare at yourselves. And I apologize for any alerts that pop up. Ignore all.
Okay, but as long as we stay where we are,
If you stay here, you'll
we'll
be
be
just
able
fine.
to accomplish what you
The
need.
last Sensei session, she wandered a little bit, and so at some point in time, it was just a disembodied voice. But
Yes.
you know, the knowledge is still there.
Got it. Well, we won't float.
The audio is still there.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Well, we'll see if you watch the older ones.
Yeah, it is. I'm just gonna keep an eye on the time. Yeah. I don't see anybody I recognize.
Yeah.
But then again,
Should we ask if most people
I don't know. Do you want to? I would just say how many have been licensed. You know, how many of you have been licensed? A year or more, 5 years or more, 10 years or more. I think it would be kind of good to know who your audience is. Do you want to ask what they want to get out of it?
Sure.
Which is what everybody usually starts with.
Yeah.
And then I should take notes on that. I'll just take notes on my phone, or maybe you
I
can.
don't think we really need to.
No, if people say what they want to get out of it, so like it's just yeah.
This ideas.
Nice word. Yeah. She took this stuff off. No, it was great.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
It's 12 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Living Room. We're excited to have you guys here to join us today for our Sensei lunch, and I'll be talking in a minute about our two beautiful senseis. The whole idea of this is for all of us to just share what we know, so we can raise the bar in our business. And big thanks to Wendy from Chicago Title for the delicioso lunch that you are enjoying at this moment. And then, do you have anything you want to share today, Wendy?
Yeah. So my name's Wendy Becker with Chicago Title, and part of what I do is help realtors be strategic with their marketing. And right now, what is working really well is Facebook marketing using custom lists. So it's not just casting a wide net out to Facebook users. It's actually a list that you might already have, like your client list, or maybe people that you've met at open houses, or a list that you get through us, but you can advertise to them specifically. It's really wise to do that because 1 out of every 5 minutes that's spent on a phone is either on Facebook or Instagram. So that's where the people are, so it's good to be where the people are, right?
Right.
So if you'd like help with that or to explore that, just let me know.
All right, thanks, Wendy. So I've known these ladies for quite a while, and I'm so excited and thrilled when they agreed to come and talk with us. Having probably all of you guys at one point have had the privilege of having a transaction with these two wonderful ladies, Katie and Jennifer, and it doesn't matter how rough it goes, there's always such a great spirit of cooperation. You can advocate really strongly for your client and also be a great person to work with. And I think that's always impressed me. And also, the other thing that I can't wait to learn about today is how they have listings from Milwaukee to Lake Oswego and everywhere in between. So a lot of people kind of have their niche or their geographic area, and these guys are just doing it all over the place. So I can't wait to learn about that. But as they come and share their knowledge with us, we want to present them with these awards. And this is custom-made paper art. And what it says on here is, in recognition of wisdom and generosity in the field of real estate, Living Room Realty has awarded the following recipient the designation of Sensei. So we
Thank
appreciate
you.
your spirit of cooperation and you bringing your abundance and sharing with us, and we recognize and appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll have
That's very nice. Thank you.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
So hopefully it's something you'd be happy to have
Yes,
out.
absolutely. Oh, sure.
And then we're going to package these up really nice and safe for you to
you.
take with you today.
Thank you.
So, and also this whole thing, the idea, and I know a lot of you, I see familiar faces, have been here before, but if you haven't, the idea is that we're all contributing. So I hope you brought your questions. I hope you're curious, and feel free to engage in the conversation. And I'm gonna.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thanks for having us, everybody. I'm Katie Fracasso.
And I'm Jennifer Raynak.
And we are twins. And I don't recognize I know a few of the faces, don't recognize everybody. I just would like to start with a couple quick questions. Can I just see a show of hands if you are with Living Room? Raise your hand. Okay, wow, great. Okay. And then just so we know who the audience is, can you raise your hand if you've been licensed a year or more, and just keep your hand up? Okay, 5 years or more? Okay, great. 10 years or more? 15 or more? 20 or more? Okay, Kristen, you get the award. That's why we go way back, because we've been selling for 20 years. And we do work with Keller Williams. We have our own S Corporation. Our team branding is the Twin Team. And how it all started, Kristen asked us to tell our story. I got my license in 1996. I was managing a private athletic club after I graduated from college, have a degree in health. And I was losing all my salespeople to real estate. And we had a corporate shift in our ownership, and I thought, as soon as this climate changes, I'm going to probably jump into real estate. My grandpa was a builder, our dad was a builder, our brothers are contractors, but nobody in our family had done real estate sales. So when my company was sold, I jumped in, studied for my license. Back then, we had to go into dark rooms, cubicles, and with cassette tapes, and listen for hours on end to get our licensing, to get our hours in. And did that in about 3 weeks, passed the test. And then I went to work for a company that probably none of you have heard of called Stan Wiley Realtors. Stan was an actual person. He was one of the few local owners back in that day. Very small boutique company, sort of like Living Room, with a strong emphasis on training and education, which is why I went there. At Stan Wiley, they taught me how to cold call, how to door knock, how to call expired listings, do for sale by owners, because my biggest fear in starting was that I would work with somebody that I knew and cared about, and I would screw up their real estate deal. So I left an awesome sphere and did not work it at all, which was mistake number one, and only would work with people I did not know until I got a better sense of what the heck I was doing. Then in 1997, Stan Wiley was bought by Prudential, and so I then went from small boutique to international conglomerate. Did not like that very much. After being there a year, I recruited my twin sister, Jen, to come work with me. She had been at Nike for a decade. And I convinced her that working with buyers was fun. And at that point, I exclusively worked with sellers. So for 18 years, I've been exclusively a listing agent. And Jennifer has been buyer's agent and now heads up our buyer side of our team. Back in the day when I was cold calling from my apartment, because I was too nervous to cold call at the office in front of my colleagues, I recruited my mom, who was a retired secretary from United Airlines, and she would put together my listing packets, and she did all my administrative stuff. And then when Jen came on board, it was the three of us. And it was just the three of us for quite a while. I'd say probably 8 years or so. It was just the three of us, either by pure happenstance, we just decided we would build a business by referral. So even though I was taught how to cold call and door knock, we quickly thought, we'd rather build a business by referral. So when Kristen says, that we have listings all over, it's because 80% of our business is by referral. And if the person that your cousin coworker lives in Milwaukee, that's where we're going to go. So I think it was about 2001, I think we hired our first independent licensed assistant, and then my mom sort of just graduated to sort of just coming in and bossing us
Yeah,
around.
pretty much.
And we paid her to do that, which was even crazier. And so ever since then, we've had a licensed assistant until we hit 2008. And then our team of 3.5 went back down to just Jen and I. Our assistant actually left, but it was just the market. We decided we would handle things ourselves until we saw how far the bottom was going to fall. During that time, because we didn't know, it was, I guess half the room of you lived through that, sound from the show of hands I saw. It was brutal. We didn't know where the bottom was going to be. Jen even got a part-time job at Costco just to make sure, and she quit after 2 weeks. But that was, interesting times. So it was just the two of us until about 2011, 2012, when the market was starting to turn. And interestingly enough, we had what we thought was a pretty robust business. We probably did, I'd say 50, sales a year between the two of us, and we probably did about between 10 and 15 million in volume a year. In 2011, we had our worst year ever. And whether it was the tail end of the downturn in the market or whatever it was, we found ourselves that year we had done about 4 million in business. And I don't remember how many transactions, but it was nothing to brag about. And we sort of looked at each other and said, something's not working. And knowing that the market was starting to turn positive again, we thought it's probably us and not the market. So we had started at that point, we were selling for Hassan. I guess I skipped that. In 2001, we went to the Hassan company. And we were there for 13, 14 years, something like that. And so in 2011, we were starting to get exposed to some different agents that were doing a tremendous amount of volume and having teams, having a lot more leverage at Keller Williams. So we started going to those classes. Keller Williams holds two national conferences every year for their states across the country. And we went to one in particular, it's called Mega Camp. I don't know how many of you have heard of it or if any of you have attended. If you ever get the chance to go, it's a great conference. Even if you want to stay at your brokerage that you're at, that's great. But we were blown away at what agents were doing outside of our market that we had assumed after being at Hassan and selling at that point for a good 15 years that we kind of knew it all. You do enough business and you think this is how it's done. You're going to work crazy hours and you're going to have great clients and challenging clients and you're going to feel like you never have enough hours in the day. And by the way, you're going to hit sort of a natural ceiling of how many people you can help because there's only so many hours in the day. So at Mega Camp, that sort of opened our eyes. And long story short, we ended up moving our business in 2013 to Keller Williams. And from that point in 2011, when we did 8 million, the last couple of years and this year as well, we're on track to close 40 million in volume and about 1 million in GCI. So,
what's GCI?
Gross commission income. So just, most of our industry counts units, volume, and GCI. At least at Keller, that's what we do. They're very transparent about all those numbers, which has been great for us.
Is that your team, GCI?
Yeah. So it's been great for us. We were looking for a way to leverage our time and have more balance because we're not fresh anymore. We're not as young as a lot of you guys. So that's why we moved our business, and now we have a team. There's 5 of us.
6 counting.
Well, 6. Yeah, I guess 6 total. So myself, who just does listings, Jen is actually now out of production, so she doesn't write offers or show property. She runs our team, and she oversees our team, trains and does team logistics. Then we have a buyer's agent, a showing specialist, and a licensed admin. And then last year we started a senior program. So we saw a need both demographically from just the aging population and us aging. We have a lot of friends our age who have seniors in their 70s and 80s and 90s who were not being well served, just their needs. They can't, DocuSign's a challenge, memory is a challenge, so just the high level of care that they need. So we flew to Baltimore. There was an agent at Keller that was running a senior program that we went out and shadowed that was very successful. We came back here and implemented our senior program last year, hired a gal who's running that full time. And basically, we have partnered with many of the prominent senior communities in Portland and surrounding areas to assist them with any seniors that are moving that need to get their house sold or don't. It's not contingent on them selling a house. And so that is another arena of our business, but that person is very virtual. We meet with her once a week, but she's not in our daily transactions. So that's our team, and that's our story. Wouldn't you say? Did I miss anything? Nope. So one of the things before Kristen starts prompting us with questions, I'm just curious if anyone, when I go to hear somebody, there's usually some certain things I want to learn by the end of the hour. Is there anything that you guys want to know specifically or have a challenge with that you think we might be able to help with before we start? Yeah.
You mentioned referral. Maybe emphasize on that a little bit. So it seemed to be the big push for you guys.
Okay.
How that happens, how do you follow up, what parties do you want
Great.
How do you approach that?
Yep, perfect. Anybody else? Anything they want to know? Yeah.
I don't even know how to ask this question.
Sure.
I'm on a team.
Uh-huh.
Partner, right here.
Okay.
And we have some other members of our team, and we talk a lot about sort of dividing the workload.
Mhm.
And I started in business just myself,
Mhm.
where I did everything, and so it's been harder for me to let go of
Mhm.
pieces. Not because I want to be in control of everything, but because I'm always feeling like I have to know how to do all of, I don't want to lose touch. So
Yeah.
if I'm just doing listings, for example, how do I stay connected to what's happening on the buying side?
Sure.
Or if I, like you were saying, if I take over and sort of am running the team and not doing production,
Right.
how do I stay, how do I, keep all that stuff in my mind and know what's going on?
Great. Great question. Okay.
And then I have a question about, do you guys give each other time off? Do you get the vacations? Do you have a day off during the week?
Yes, we do.
Et cetera?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Do you want me to start with answering those?
Have at it.
Okay. Do you want to?
Well, yeah, I'll address initially as far as how do you keep in touch, because there's a lot to that, right? Like if I'm not out previewing homes or showing homes, how am I seeing what's out there, what's priced at certain price points, and what's the appetite in the market, all of that. So, I mean, we have a weekly team meeting every week, and I think between everyone's feedback, both Katie from the listing side and what the buyer's agents are seeing, we share more collaboratively to get a read and have a pulse on that, so I have a better understanding. Because I coach, well, everyone on the team, and I have a one-on-one with everybody on the team through, each week. But some of it I'm gleaning that way. I also have to more systematically keep in touch with the clients because we have a referral-based business where people got to know either Katie or me. And then that was probably the biggest myth we resisted for a while about growing a team, which two things. It has to be me, which is a myth, and the client will want me, so how do I present somebody else to them? And most of that we came to learn is just about setting standards and having a certain expectation of service level, which means it doesn't have to be me. But if I can duplicate what I provide in a team member, then it is like getting me, and Katie and I would both say that when we finally got out of the way of it and had trained team members to do their job, our clients have a way better experience. I mean, our reviews now are like, we love their team, and this person's great, and that person, and they actually rave about them in reviews oftentimes more than me. So if you don't have a lot of ego tied to it, it can be better because we're elevating them to just shine, which is what they want to do, and then the client gets a great experience. But I try to preview a certain number of homes, you know, on a weekly basis, and then I try to keep in touch with what is happening through the team and just what else I'm hearing from other agents. So, because I do feel like that's important, right, to stay relevant in each side of the business. Now, Katie and I are unique in that she's always done listings. I've only helped buyers for. And so I don't immerse myself a lot with the listing side, but it is important in terms of, you know, like how to get an offer written that gets accepted. Well, Katie sees them all the time, so she shares that with the team. So I get it that way. And as far as days off, everybody on our team gets 2 days off a week. We built a team so we could have more balance, and because we did say to ourselves, Katie's married, I'm not. Neither of us have kids, one dog. And we just thought, this is all we do. And up until we built a team, you know, real estate can consume your life. And depending upon what you want that to be, we didn't want to make a ton of money, and we didn't want to have big numbers. But we just thought, after so many years, we should have better numbers. I mean, we just thought, just for the sake of mastery, why aren't we doing better when we know we could? There'd be a way. And so when we found the way, that's what's happened. And honestly, we've had more time off and enjoyed probably what we're doing more than ever, less burnout. And we just set up a system where everyone's days off are covered by somebody else on the team. So there's a bit of cross-training there. And how we present it to the client is key, so that because we're not a big fan of a team experience in the sense that you don't know who you're getting. Right. You start with one person, you get moved through 3 different people, which can happen. That was our other fear. We've built our business on referral because we've given really great care and service to our clients, and they know that. So we want to be sure that when we work with the clients, they feel like it's an intimate group of highly trained people that are going to care for them, and that's what they get. So that also has helped overcome that fear that we had going into it. So
yeah, I would just say days off. If you have, to your question about the team, if you have a partner, at least one other person, you know, the days off is no different than any industry, right? If we tell, like for me, my days off are Friday and Saturday, and I tell my clients that, and then what happens is they might have a question on a Friday or a Saturday, and the email will always say, I know it's your day off, sorry to bug you, but here's the question. They want to know the rules too, because if they call me on a Friday and I'm like, yeah, you know, it's my day off, and now I have TOOD, and, you know, I'm giving off that I don't want to help them, they're going to pick up on that too and be like, well, hey, I didn't know it was your day off. Like, it's just like anything. If they know the parameters or the boundaries, they're happy to comply. Or I'll return your call tomorrow if it's after 6. So we just have found people like that. They like to know. And just whatever you do, pick some days, try them, try really hard to stick to them. If they don't work, tweak it, but keep the days off. I mean, just don't forego the days off, or it just becomes miserable for everybody. Yeah. And I'd say we take more vacation time as well. I mean, I don't know, I'd say between each of us, we probably each took about 8 weeks off last year, went, you know, on 3-week trips to Cuba and Australia and different places where we're unplugged completely. It's not without its moments of drama. I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect. I've had my share of phone calls from the bathroom hotel where, you know, I didn't want my husband to know I was putting out a fire. But it's so much different than it ever was before. And then to answer your question about referral, you know, honestly, I think what we just realized quickly was, and no offense if anybody does their business differently than referral, but when I cold called and door knocked for 2 years, when I won over a client, they were lifers. I mean, they were some of my biggest advocates. But I didn't enjoy, do you want to sell, do you want to sell, do you want to sell? So once we began to get just an organic referral, and that person was cool and fun and didn't hate us, and then they referred us, we were like, oh my gosh, this is such a more pleasant experience than this. So then we just realized, okay, we're going to start asking for business and just saying to them, listen, if I give you an awesome real estate experience, will you refer me? And that's how it started. Now, especially with Jen being out of production, and eventually I will be out of production on the listing side as well, and yet it will still be our name and our team. Now the important thing is Jen and I have to stay visible in our business, because when they do have a referral, we don't want them to think it should just go to our teammate, because they're part of our team. So we make sure that, Jen and I we attend all of our closings. If it's on the buy side, Jen attends. If it's on the list side, I attend. Jen does all buyer consults. So Jen's meeting the buyer client with the buy team on the front end, so that they understand you're going to work with Summer and Jessica, but this is Jennifer's business, and as a business owner, she wants to be there on the front end and on the back end. And then Jen makes weekly calls to those clients just to check in, make sure they're having a great real estate experience with the team. Similarly, so as it just grew by referral, we just leaned into that more. We asked for the business. We sort of set the expectation that that's how we can stay in business, is if our clients help us grow. We do have client events. We feel strongly about them. There's nothing like FaceTime with clients. So we throw an annual appreciation party every year. It's called the White Party. Everyone comes in all white. We do it usually in the fall after Labor Day on purpose. And we've had our years of sunny weather and complete rainy downpours and everyone in white soaked. But that's an adult-only party. And then we throw a Santa event every Christmas where we invite all the families. So the clients that we don't see at the White Party, we usually see at Santa. And those are great, great. They're not only great events, but it's a great reason to call your clients prior to the event if you have been out of touch. So we call through our database, our clientele, at least twice a year. And it's really important. Yeah, it's just, besides we have a monthly newsletter that we send out. We have what's called a 33 Touch. Have any of you heard of that? So some of the things I might say today are sort of Keller jargon. There's research that shows that if you touch a client 33 times in a year as a minimum, that you'll get repeat and referral business from them. So we have a systemized 33 touch where our clients hear from us, see us, what have you, 33 times in a year. And that could be events, email, text, whatever it might be. Does that help answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely. So your Santa event, where are you holding that?
Different venues. We first had it at a title company for a couple years. We came in as little elves and we took down all their pictures and we put up stuff. But now we just rent a space, and each year it's different based on the size. We can have 200 people attend, and it's on a drop-in window of time. So we pick different venues based on the size. And the same thing for the White Party. We've had it at Departure Lounge, and this year it's at a winery. We're actually hosting it in about 3 weeks. So yeah, it just depends. Yeah. Yes.
So when you call your people, I get this question a lot, so I'm curious what do you do? What are you calling them about? What are you saying? So if you call somebody basically every 6 months, we'll just say, what's that conversation look like?
Well, I'll say this. Some people it's best to text, and so the script is completely different.
Yeah.
It could be a lot shorter, briefer, just thinking of you. On the buy side, I will say this. It's really hard to call your past sellers because they've moved on. You can't talk about the house.
Yeah.
Remember that house we sold 3 years ago? Wasn't that great? There isn't the same connection. So I think the buy side has it far easier. But on the listing side, usually I will just say, how are things going? I may mention something about the market. It could be an upcoming event. But usually I'm just saying, hey, I'm just reaching out to say hi. I was thinking about you. Or I drove down your street the other day, whether I did or not, and, thought about you. Just hope all is well. On that call, we don't usually ask for business. If they get into a conversation with us and it fits in, then we'll say, hey, we're never too busy for your referrals, or keep us in mind if you know of anybody looking to buy or sell. Or honestly, there have been times, so when we were at Hassan and pre-building out our team, we would have these massive swings of tons of business and then just nothing. because when we were crazy busy, we couldn't be on the phone. We weren't reaching out to our clients. And so, you'd have these periods where you could make a lot of calls and then other times that you couldn't. During those times where we had lulls, we'd look, we're pretty number oriented. We study our metrics a lot. And for whatever reason, we've been a pretty balanced buy sell. But there'd be times where we were all out of sellers. So if I was on the phone to somebody, I'd say, hey, in particular, if you know anybody looking to sell, because if you just say, if you know anybody, they don't know specifically what you're looking for. But when I get really specific in what I ask for, I usually get that. I'll be like, listen, we are all out of buyers. We just put our last great family into escrow. Right now we need buyers. Do you know anybody? They will be like, let me think about that. But if I'm not specific, I usually don't get what I want. So that's what that call looked like. It's,
And I check Facebook a lot.
Yeah.
So I'll have Facebook open and I'll be
Yeah.
like, cool, so-and-so just went to the pumpkin patch.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, and it may sound creepy, but I'll just be like, I saw your cute picture on Facebook. She looks like she's doing great. How's kindergarten? I mean, I'll just,
Yeah.
it helps me stay connected with them even if I haven't had a conversation with them in 6 months. So.
But the call is usually just, hey, how are you doing? It's not even about business. Because the goal really is to just stay front of mind. Like, you guys probably know, you get something, an email or something from somebody, and just, even for those 2 seconds, you think about them, and you're like, and that's when it might trigger to them, oh, yeah, I do need to refinance. Katie might have a good lender, or my aunt is moving into town. Oh yeah, I need to connect them. It's just that quick second is all.
Then, when you took the leap of expanding your team, because that's the other question I feel a lot, is, oh, I'm too scared. And I don't mind, I have an answer for that, but I'm curious, how you guys approach that and how you worked through any fear you had over, I think, not just the letting go part, but the financial obligation
Sure.
of hiring.
Well, I was going to say one thing that helps is doing it for like a decade and a
Yeah.
half, where you're like, if you don't jump off a bridge or hire someone, I mean, those are your two options.
Right.
So burnout helps it motivate you tremendously.
Yeah.
But there was, I mean, I think with anybody, like I'm a more cautious person fiscally with change in general, and Katie's a bigger risk taker, so she helps push our team to move on past that. Plus, she covered a showing for me one night. It was like, I don't know, October, November, 7:00 at night, North Portland. She filled in.
Porch light.
She filled in for me, and after that, she said,
I called her from the car.
"We are so done with this."
I said, we're not doing this anymore. This is ridiculous. I can't believe this is what you do.
And I would have kept doing it. So I mean, that helped a lot.
Yeah.
But it also, it was just eye-opening to know that, in some ways you can set expectations both with clients and in hiring, and just like not being willing to show a house anymore at 7:00 at night, I actually tell my clients we don't show anything really past 5:30 or 6.
Yeah.
And we haven't lost a single client over that, but it's setting expectations. But in terms of the hiring, financially, it was the same thing. It was just a trade-off where it was so much more worth it to get some time back for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And really, at the end of the day, we still are doing just fine. We do invest a lot into our team, and so we know that they may be with us for 2 months or 2 years or maybe 20, but more than likely, maybe it'll just be a few years. Most of them are newer to the business.
Yeah.
But it's really like I come from a training background at Nike, and I love to see them grow and learn, and I get to show them a great way to do business that if someone had been around, I would have loved for someone to have shown both of us how to do that. Mm-hmm. And so I get to help coach them in ways to help learn tricky negotiations. And so there's always a safety net that protects our business, and there's always a safety net that helps me coach them so they're never really on their own. And I feel like whatever we invest into them just is going to make the industry better. So if they don't stay, of course that means we have to hire someone new and start over again. But, it's an abundant marketplace, and I feel like we could always find that talent. And when that doesn't happen, I fill in, or Kate fills in. But the numbers still work out quite well.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words,
the other thing I was just going to say to that, Christian, is anybody on our team who brings in business, right, referrals or their sphere, they're compensated for that. And I would bet that the business they bring in more than compensates their split. So, and I don't know how many of you guys care about the actual numbers themselves, but most buyer's agents are on a 25% split, and most showing specialists are also on a 25% split. So if your business is 50% buyers or something like that, I mean, it should be minimally 40, no more than 50 industry-wide. So basically, if your business is even as ours is, we're giving up 25% of our revenue to have those people take care of half of our clientele. So, and then they bring in business, which also helps make up those numbers. So to us, it was sort of that light bulb where we were like, oh my gosh, there is not easier, but there is another way to do this that makes sense could be a win-win if done well. And I will say, Kristen, when we started to do this, I mean, first it was just moving our business, which I cannot tell you guys how many people said, oh, were you guys just bored at Hassan? Like, meaning, you need a change, you need to mix it up? Heck no, you know how hard it is to move your business? I'm sure you guys know. It's not easy. So when we went to move our business, we also went knowing we were growing out this team. And so there was a lot of strategy. I mean, we did a lot of planning before we actually did it. And some of the first people we hired were not a fit. And so, hired, they left, rehired, they left. And, as we've gone along, we've gotten better people that fit into those roles better. But Jen's right. We just didn't realize there was another way to do it. And once you are, how they say when the student's ready, the teacher appears? It just has to be something that is appealing enough to you that you're willing to take that risk. And for us, we would never go back. I mean, now the thought of us not having the people leverage we have, we can't even imagine going back. But that's for us.
That, you're making a commitment to pay somebody something. Mm-hmm. But if you're doing it right, it leverages you to recapture that and more.
Absolutely. That leverages the most amazing thing we've probably realized in just how it affects the business overall.
Well, think about it. Even if you had somebody, Kristen, let's say you had someone to just show property for you one day a week. If that one day you're willing to spend time reaching out to your clientele and you get one referral or one past client, that more than pays for it. Yep. So,
or time with your family.
Or whatever it might be.
Spouses and family members, it's just this incessant thing, and it's hard for them to get time with us when we don't have those boundaries. And so just to have a day where you disconnect unless it's urgent, but really, that alone is worth its weight.
Yeah. So. And I will say for us, and for those of you who are newer in the industry, this might take a little bit, but these agents that want to come to us and join our team are getting to work with clients who are, I don't want to say they're the cream of the crop, but they're pretty awesome clients. I mean, they're great people who are very clear that they want to buy or sell, especially on the buy side. So the agents on our team are getting great clients that they don't have to go find. So they like it too because we're providing the leads. They can do lead generation activities as well. We encourage open houses and and they do their 33 touch to their clients through us. But we encourage that. So it just kind of feeds off itself. They feel like it's a win. We feel like it's a win. And to Jen's point, if they're ready to go be on their own, we support that. They're not bound to work with us forever. Yeah.
I think too is like if you're a newer agent coming in to work on that many transactions, you just gain your experience much faster. So it's definitely a win-win.
Well, and just being a newer agent, I mean, some brokerages are really great in setting good training programs. I mean, we have them too, but there's nothing like the practical experience of selling real estate that is different than what the book or what you learn to get your license. So having the support of a team there to help you learn and grow is phenomenal. If I were starting the business today, that's how I would start out. But and I think because we treat our staff like our clients, I mean, we believe in people feeling good about the environment they work in and how they're treated, and we empower them. And so, but that's a reflection of how we wanted to do it, and also a reflection of how we treat our clients. So it's all consistent, and I think they feel like they have a good experience. So there are some that I think can burn through talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah.
And then how do you guys, so you guys have a meeting once a week with your entire team.
Yeah.
And then how do you structure that meeting? Is it face-to-face? Is it a conference call? How do you guys do that?
It's face-to-face. So it's every Mondays right after our office meeting. So, and we just review our numbers, in terms of what's pending and active buyers and active listings, and then what's upcoming. And then we usually talk about something relative to the market or something that's happening that everyone needs to know about. And then we talk about team-specific stuff, events or classes that I want them to know about, or, just things that might pertain to them. And then I do the one-on-one with each of them for 30 minutes each week.
During the week.
During the
Different
week.
meetings.
Yeah, different,
That
separate.
kind of takes your whole, there goes
Yeah.
Monday.
It can. I've had to move it around a lot just to kind of get the timing right. But that same face-to-face time is invaluable. So,
Yeah.
because everyone's on the go so much. So.
And then also that allows you, I assume, to see the needs of your team, so you can also
Yeah.
support them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and just even check in with them personally, what's going on in their life, and, encourage time off, because some don't want to take time off.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, or just coaching on something that they need.
Yeah.
So you said that your clients are kind of all over the city. Are your price points also in a big range as well?
Yeah. I would say our year-to-date, our average sales price is around $450, $475. But we don't not work with a client based on price. So yeah, I'd say our geographic boundaries are, I think, pretty vast. But we go out as far as Hillsborough to Happy Valley, and then North Portland down to Wilsonville. We do have a team affiliate, not an official team member, who we refer our Vancouver business to. But yeah, but it's a big area, I think. Yeah.
We won't sell list or buy in a
No.
market we really feel like we don't know.
Right.
Then we'll just refer that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you made your move from Hassan to Keller, it sounds like your volume really changed, and that was based on your leveraging.
Well, some of it was the market, right? Because that was right when the market was turning. So, I'm sure that tide lifted everybody's boats a bit. But there's just no question it did, Kristen, because we had already knew that serving our clients at the level we wanted to, we maxed out around 45, 50 units, just the time intensity that it takes. So we know that everything beyond that, and our volume growth as well, was just a function of just being able to help more people. The analogy I always give people is, if you can imagine pulling into a McDonald's and someone takes your order, and then you drive to the first window where you pay, and that same person runs over and is doing the money, and then is running to the back grill and trying to make you order, and trying to do that for a carload of people, right? You can't do it, and you certainly can't do it well, right? You're probably either better at cooking or better with the money, or you're better at taking the order, but you're probably not great at all of it. And we know, because we did that system for years, and something falls through the cracks, right? Like somebody's not going to have a great customer experience because you didn't email them back, or you didn't, or a client loses a house, or you lose a referral because you didn't respond to it fast enough. There's just not enough time. So yeah.
When you guys get your referrals, does it come into one number? Do you have one number for your team, or are they just calling you or calling you?
They usually either reach out to one of us or our assistant.
Or Facebook, or they'll
Facebook,
call.
yeah.
I mean, we have the least impressive website currently.
Yeah.
So somehow they still manage
not
to find their
updated.
way through us. I mean, even like our website says we've been in business 10 years. That's how long ago we
Yeah.
haven't updated it.
Yeah.
So God help them. I mean, God love
Yeah.
them. They still find us.
Yeah.
So even though we try to make it hard, they still. So I guess I would just say, yeah, any number of those
Yeah,
ways, or
any
they
of
text us, or
Yeah.
or what have you, Facebook,
Yeah.
Instagram.
So you don't have like
No.
one team line.
No.
We have one phone number, but Katie and I still promote our cell phones a lot.
Right. When we have a team email address, but we still use our individuals too, emails.
So beyond the kind of monthly seasonal trend of business,
how do you guys feel that the market is going right now, since you've been through highs and lows? Do you feel a certain way right now about the market beyond like the end of summer?
Okay. I kind of describe right now as very choppy. It's there's no question, in my opinion, that we've had a shift back in June, and that we're still in that shift. I think great homes and great locations are still doing great, but otherwise, I mean, we know, we track price reductions, days on market, and lockbox activity to support what we're feeling, right? Because you can always be like, hey, did it slow down? Is it just me? Or how come my great new listing doesn't have 5 offers and it's been 2 hours? So we look at that data and we're like, oh yeah, like it's real, right? I would say there's no, despite maybe being nuked by the North Koreans or something else big happening, there's nothing that has impacted the market to cause the shift. Rates aren't higher, inventory is not higher. But I think there's no question that the definition of a shift is buyer motivation has changed. And I do think that's prevalent. And I don't know if that will go into Q1. Typically Q1 for us is the tell of at least how the peak of the selling season is going to be. And we've had such robust first parts of the year for the last couple of years. It's hard to tell, but right now it's very choppy. I'm pricing things very conservatively on the list side, and on the buy side, I don't know what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just clear, was the upper end, now it seems to be across the board that things are obviously sitting. And if you're tracking appreciation, it's not that values are dropping, but
Right.
rate of appreciation has certainly slowed.
Right.
And so and then I think it's hard for the market to be catching up to that pricing because everyone was on this run up. So we see everything being price corrected, and then it's going to be just interesting to see that once that becomes more prevalent where sellers get that
Right.
and agents are getting it and the word is out in the media even, that it'll be really interesting to see if we start pricing to the market, if activity is still as good, because there's still certainly enough people moving to Portland and whatnot, or if we're still going to see a continuation of that shift where appreciation slows. I think it's good for the marketplace. I mean, I'm not
do
going to
too.
lie. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
And we're certainly due.
Yeah.
Thank God on the buying side. Yeah. Exhausting.
Darn it.
Yeah.
No.
What kind of training do you guys do, and do you ask your team to engage in?
Well, a lot of it is brought into our office. I mean, into our Keller office there's just an abundance of training classes, and so we support everybody going to that as much as possible.
We have an internal first 100 days of training for anybody that joins our team. So there is an actual manual that we've created of what we, sort of how we can tell if they're achieving some level of mastery. And there's also some Keller events that they can go to get additional training. But I'd say the first 90 days, everybody's on probation. Like, we're not ordering you business cards. Like, this could work or it may not work. So and they're very clear about that too, especially if they've never sold real estate before.
So how through the years have you kind of refined your hiring process then?
Well, again, we kind of benefit because Keller has a hiring process that's pretty phenomenal, and it takes you through a series of some of its assessment tools for personality and also for the role that we're considering them for. Right. So we get that as a read. Plus the process that they help you go through literally gives you all the questions to ask and the time frames and references to get, and it really walks you through it. Plus anyone we're seriously considering will also do some field work with just to get them out and see how they are. But
what does that look like?
Showing property, they'll tag along on showing houses or attending a home inspection or.
Yeah, and then if we, towards the tail end of them, I'll have them show me a house or evaluate homes. I have them preview 10 homes every week and then give me their feedback so I can kind of see if they're picking up things. But really, we're super lucky because Keller is the #1 training and education company, which is only important because the research done to give us market data and also like all that kind of training and development, it's all kind of right there. So it makes it super easy for us to take the parts of it we want and the parts we don't want. So, and then there's also a 7-week course that our ongoing teammates can go to. It gets offered twice a year called Bold. And it's really cool because it's a ton of personal development, plus real estate mixed in. But it just, it's a really compelling course to learn more about yourself and how that shows up in business. And so we pay for half of our teammates' cost for that if they want to go through it. It's 1 day a week for 7 weeks.
It's also open to anybody in the city.
Yeah.
It's not just Collin.
So there's all kinds of things, from regional events to our
Yeah.
office events to then what Katie and I put together.
Yeah.
You did training at Nike?
I did for a long time. Customer service and then HR was the last part of my stint.
Ooh, HR.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I like coaching and developing, but yeah, it's great. So.
And certainly, I just want to make the caveat that we don't have everything down and figured out. Like, this morning was we had fires to put out, and, you know, we haven't perfected anything. We've just found a way to still enjoy our clients and our business and have more time off than ever. So I don't want anyone to think that we've perfected it, because we haven't.
This one's kind of a big question, but when you work with clients, especially on the buyer side, do you kind of in the back of your head think, I'd like to be wrapped up with them by this time? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, do you use like a buyer service agreement? Do you have, how do you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have never used those because they didn't exist forever. And I never used it. And then, of course, like 2 years ago, I thought, I'm going to use this. And I had 2 clients sign them at different times. And then they turned into the people I wanted to fire, which I almost never want to do. So statistically, the odds of that happening. And then to learn that had to be a unilateral, I mean, it had to be mutually agreed upon.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't just at that point say, I'd rather, I don't think I'm the best fit for you and you're not the best fit for me. That they had to agree to let me out of it.
Yeah.
I thought, oh no, this is not working in my favor. I think, so I don't use them now, even though I think they're super smart. I think especially in this kind of a market where buyers could have a couple agents working for them potentially.
Yeah.
So I will tell you that it's a great thing to do, and then I will tell you that I don't use them. But part of that's because I think for buyers, this is what I believe after doing this since God was a child, that all the expectations that we have in that consult that's at the very beginning is where the magic happens. If I don't cover all the points and all the expectations I want in that 45-minute window, I just think it's literally the springboard for how the rest of the whole deal goes. So to that end, I talk about the fact that I don't have you sign a contract, and the reason is you came to me through so-and-so. And if we're not a match, I certainly, this is a stressful situation, it's intimate, it's your finances, and if I'm not the best fit, I'm certainly going to want to refer you to somebody else or help you move on to someone else, because it's like dating, not everyone's a fit. But I do let them know that, we both have to make sure this is a good fit. And so I always let them know that. But as far as the house hunting part of it, everything I talk about is expectation, is about only the homes I'm going to send you, or my team is, which are going to be the best ones, hours of availability to show. And then I'll usually say, in our market, here's the exciting thing, the market's really articulate. We have low inventory, but when things hit and they're the best listings, you shouldn't need to look for more than a month. And I'm really big on just being supportive and letting them drive the process, but I do like to set that expectation. And I do also tell them, I say, part of my job is to tell you if I think you're being too picky. So I'm going to be the person that tells you if you're being too picky. And they laugh about that. But, it's funny, then they'll say, I don't want to be that person. And I am like, yeah, I don't want you to be either. So, but I tell them, I said, it's not needle and haystack here. I mean, yes, you may be that pickier person, but if in 2 months you haven't even gotten close to writing an offer, we're going to talk about that. Because then I do need to help you course correct. I need to adjust expectations or go look further out or see if you can go rob a bank. But we got to do something to help you get what it is we're not finding. And I tell them, I said, the exciting thing is that I'm really good at what I do, so I should be able to do that for you really quickly. And it shouldn't be that you have to just get buyer fatigue, looking and looking and looking. So that whole consult, it's like when people want to start looking at houses and they don't want to come in and sit down, I just won't do it. I won't show property. I won't show property if they're not pre-approved. And as long as I can get in front of them and they realize that I'm saying really firm, I'm setting really firm boundaries, but I'm connecting and I'm supporting, they know I'm on their side.
Right.
I'm laying out the groundwork. And that's why I won't work with anybody that won't come in for a consult. Plus they need to meet the buyer team, but just so much magic happens in that. And then me to get to read them. And I've done it long enough that I feel like, okay, I know who you are, even though you're saying you're not that person. Like, you're going to be that person, which is okay. But then I just need to figure out how to work, adjust on our end. Yeah, basically. And even just teasing people about being difficult, it's a great way to tease them about it, because then you're not pretending they're not that person, because they kind of know.
Yeah.
When you do meet that buyer who maybe you aren't the right fit, and you do refer them to someone else, how then do you follow up with the person who referred them to you to make sure, hey,
Yeah.
sending me people, just that one was not the right.
Yeah. And I usually will say it sort of like that. I'll just say, hey, just want you to know, Stacey, between what the market I serve or where she's looking or just what she needed, there's a gal that I put her in touch with because I think she's a better fit. But thank you so much. And she's going to be in great hands now. So, yeah, I kind of just say, so they know how it went. Because I don't, and how you refer that person out is really important, because I've even referred people out with the best of their intentions. Like it's an area I don't even know because it's farmland or something. And it's really hard to do without them taking it personally. So, and I'll even follow back up with them. How's it going with Stacy? Oh, I heard you went pending. That's great. Because that agent hopefully stays in touch and I stay in touch with them. Just so that it preserves that relationship. I just don't get too much into the detail of the why.
Sometimes they know.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Two questions. One, would you share any best practices for picking up buyers at open houses? And two, do you guys, I think once upon a time you did, but do you still advertise on Zillow? And if so, what is your success rate?
Great question. Well, we do no paid marketing. No, none. In part because it wasn't part of our business model that just grew organically, to be honest, and in part because it didn't used to be around. But also, mostly, just on principle, I think, we do the hard work to get the listings, and then Zillow appears and then wants to sell
The leads
those
back to
leads
us.
back to us that we got off our hard-earned listings.
Right.
And there's two words I'd like to say for that. I guess I'll say no way. So I feel like we've created a beast there that we've supported by paying for advertising to get our own leads, and the only way we're going to do that is to try to cut them off to a certain extent. So, and that's talked a lot about at Keller, even at the very highest levels, because they feel like, that sort of model puts us, in a potential of becoming a commodity. So, no, we haven't. It doesn't mean, though, there's lots of people that do it, and I think they have good success, and I think if that's a fit for who you are, that's great. It just wasn't for us. And then on the principle, even if I really wanted to, I don't know that I would. So that's the Zillow part.
Yeah. Open houses, so our business is set up on 3 sources of lead generation. Our biggest one is repeat and referral. That's 80% of our business. The other one is open houses. I will tell you, we sold a lot of great houses when we were at Hassan, and we never held a single open house. I would tell my sellers, honestly, I'd say, if I can get your house sold without an open, wouldn't that be great? And they'd be like, that'd be great. And I didn't want to do them. They didn't want to have them. We didn't do them. We now do open houses. And I'll tell you why. Because after we looked at all the different ways to get additional business besides repeat and referral, open houses is one venue where buyers come to you instead of you going to them. And they're in the flesh and it's face to face. And again, you can size that person up, see if you like them, if there's someone you want to work with. And so we do intentional open houses. You know, our goal, we each have so many that we do each month. And really, all we did was we just implemented some, I use the word script, which I know can be a dirty word, but the reality is whether you have a formal script or not, you do, because there's something you say when people come to an open or a consult or whatever, and that's a script, right? So all we did is change our scripts. So we have certain scripts we use that just to help us identify, are you a potential buyer or seller? Are you in the market or are you not? You know, like one thing we'll say is, you know, are you in the market for a house or do you happen to be one of the neighbors? Because if they say, oh, I'm just one of the neighbors, there's a possibility that they're coming to look at this house to see how it compares to them and they're a future seller. And so you can then have a conversation around that. And if they're like, yep, I'm in the market, it's brutal, I'm, you know, great. You know, how are you getting into homes to see them? Oh, you know, we usually come to opens or the listing agent lets us in. It will tell you if they've got an agent without coming out and going, do you have an agent? Sign here. So we just use some general scripts to figure out who are you quickly, and then we don't do any hard sale. You know, we're just all about if someone's unrepresented and truly needs help and is truly a buyer or a seller, then we just, you know, ask them if they're interested in setting up a time to meet to discuss further, to move the conversation along.
It has gotten a lot harder though, because most people do want to say they have an agent. So I'm not going to say it's easy.
No.
It's not. I think our expectation is if we can make 1 or 2 good connections in an open house, we consider it a success.
For our budget model, we have a budget model where we expect our business to come from every year. We expect we might get 10 sales a year from open houses. So it's not a big chunk of our business, but it's one that we feel like it's a couple hours. We only do opens for 2 hours. We don't do 3 or 4. We don't do both days.
We do mail invitations to the neighbors immediately around. Mm-hmm. We do try to follow up with the neighbors right around.
Yeah.
We've done neighborhood-only opens too, which have been a big success. I think that's a great thing to just make it feel like it's a neighborhood exclusive.
Yeah.
That way you do meet them, especially if you want a listing, which a listing will yield you more than a buyer would. So.
Yeah. But, you know, we haven't perfected that either. But we definitely now are getting, you know, about 10 sales a year off our opens. And then our third leg is our senior program, and we expect, you know, 10 to 15 sales a year from that. But the preponderance is repeat and referral. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. This is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
On the buyer agents that you work with, how you mentioned the team meeting and that you check in with the client once a week, but how do you really know, you know, is there some more detail there on how you fine tune to make sure everything is lining up, that they're doing the things they've been trained to do? And what they're to do?
Well, we use a CRM, so there's a checklist of tasks, right? Which isn't, there's not as many with a buyer's agent, but there's some, especially once they go into contract. You know, when they first are writing offers, I review them before they get submitted. I get copied on all the emails, which sounds like a nightmare, but I get to see how they're communicating and how often they're engaging. And I just, I oversee until I feel like, yep, you've got that part. You don't need to copy me on that any longer. But I do, since everything's electronic, that is how I do it a lot, is via email.
So when they're first showing houses, though, do you try to go with them to make sure that they're, because some people know houses and some people don't.
Right. Well, and it's really hard, right? Like, how do you impart a lot of the knowledge you might have into somebody else that's brand new? That's really hard. But it's all teachable, right? Because it's systems.
Because you learned it.
And if you just,
I mean, we all did, right? Like,
and so I did kind of create this, okay, if I were going to show a house, here's how I do it. And then I just train them. I'm like, here's when you first walk up, here's the key things to look at. And then everything takes a while to learn, like the level of oil tank knowledge. Oh, this is a septic. We don't usually deal with that. Oh, and so at those points, I'm informing them. But really, for the most part, if they're interested in homes in general, there's a bit of people mix, plus there's a bit of being a geek about a house that you have to have. But all of those, you know, we're looking for a bit of that, and then I spend time with them, just kind of showing them, and they shadow me for a bit, and then I see how they show a house. But
also, I'd say we make sure we don't look for people with commission breath, right? Like, we don't have people on our team who are just, it's all about the sale and hitting our numbers. No, it's all about, is this the best house for this client? Because we talk as many buyers out of writing that we do into writing. So there's none of that either. I mean, it's all about, you need to come with the client's best interest first, otherwise that will show up immediately and it will not be a fit. We try to vet that in the interviewing process, but sometimes it shows up.
So the list of the, I don't know, I'll say scripts or dialogue
Yeah.
for when they're in a house with their client, and this is written down in documents that you,
I'll be honest, no, what I created was a manual about what things are in a house. You know, where to look for oil tank lines, you know, the systems and things about a house. I don't have any, I don't have anything written down about how to show a house, but I do show them how I show a house, how much time I think it should take them, how to move people through a house physically. I mean, if you've ever done this where you've stepped away from someone and saw that they'll just take a few steps back towards you, that I show them that you can move a person through a house by just keeping yourself moving, because people will naturally follow you. And just, I have to be at another appointment, or we won't get to see all 3 houses if we don't leave this within the next 10 minutes, or you go to put your shoes on. It's amazing how much people mirror you. So I teach them all that so that they don't find themselves trapped. But then what I care more about is just, are they able to assess a house really well? And that's a lot of the system stuff, right? That's showing them, taking them to houses, and then looking at the pictures I've just downloaded online about, you know, here's what that pipe looks like, and here's what a mitigation system looks like, so that you know what that is when you go to a house. And they, you know, obviously it takes time for them to know everything, but most people, you know, want someone who acts like they care and has some base knowledge, and if they don't know it, they're going to ask. But I don't like to send them out too green, so I spend time with them. Yeah.
105.
Oops.
Oh, one last, okay,
trouble.
and then we'll wrap up.
What CRM do you use?
Top producer.
That was short.
Yeah, I'd still love to find some other magic system. But, you know, the truth of the matter is, I don't care if you have an Excel spreadsheet or just a list you write every day. As long as you have a system of things to check, you know, that's the other way that you can hand that off to somebody else, because it's a checklist. So systems do help you create leverage.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice award.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
beautiful.
so nice.
Spent so much time on it because we wanted it to not be here.
Yeah.
We've actually gotten a lot of living rooms got a lot of awards, and some of them were like, oh, it's so beautiful. Some were like, we're so honored to have it, but where are we going to put it? I just wanted it to be something that maybe like, because this is art.
That's so consistent with what you